Support for WUWM podcast comes from Hop Harvest and Vine and Good Harvest Market in Pewaukee, part of One Destination, combining farm-to-table dining, local craft beers, and organic groceries under one roof. More at goodharvestmarket.com.
Lake Effect brings you conversations about what's happening in Milwaukee and the people, places, and organizations that shape our community. This is Lake Effect Spotlight from WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR.
Milwaukee Public Schools hired more than 200 teachers from other countries to help fill open jobs this year. The school district uses the temporary H-1B visa program to hire international teachers for 3 years at a time. This type of visa is reserved for people working in specialty occupations like teaching, computer sciences, and engineering. Many employers like hospitals and tech companies rely on these visas. Last month, President Trump announced sweeping changes to the H-1B visa program. His proclamation creates a $100,000 fee for new applications. That's a steep hike from the current fee of about $3,000. As part of our check-in series exploring immigration updates, WUWM education reporter Katherine Kokal spoke with Milwaukee immigration lawyer Kelly Fortier about the work visa changes.
So we found out that Milwaukee Public Schools is pausing their international teacher recruitment program. That's a program that extends H-1B visas to international employees to come to MPS and teach. Why would an employer pause a program like that right now?
Any employer who recruits from outside the United States or regularly uses H-1B workers really has to, I think, reevaluate their plans for 2026. And so I think they are correct in pausing it and waiting to see what happens. It's very possible there'll be more clarifications and they'll be able to continue to file for and obtain new H-1B approvals for these teaching roles, but there's also a good chance they won't. And until that is known, I can completely understand it. $100,000 fee per worker is almost punitive in nature. U.S. employers, the vast majority of them at least, cannot afford to add that cost to the cost of onboarding a new employee, even if they're incredibly valuable, even if they're really needed. So I think it's very reasonable for a school district like MPS to just pause for the time being and see how this shakes out.
So it makes sense that employers are really uncertain right now. And I want to clarify that as of right now, we know that the $100,000 fee is for only new applications for an H-1B visa that were filed after September 21st, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And so
H-1B workers that are already here, already working in H status, do not have to worry about their extensions or renewals.
Okay. And you're getting kind of conflicting information about this, right? Can you talk a little bit about what the communication process has been like for these changes?
Yeah, there's the terminology that's been used in the various guidance on this, from the proclamation to the USCIS guidance to the follow-up White House tweets to the Department of State memo. They're all using slightly different versions of what was in the proclamation. But for example, they reference the H-1B lottery, but the implementation date was September 21st, which is well before the next year's lottery. They also talk a lot about new petitions. And when you use that term new petition, that's a very nuanced term in the immigration world. It indicates the filing of a petition with USCIS, not necessarily a visa application for someone abroad. There's also a lot of unknowns with the language they're using regarding cap exempt employers. So again, we see this language regarding the H-1B lottery, but there are many, many organizations that don't have to participate in the lottery. They can get H-1Bs whenever they want. So it's very unclear if they are going to be affected by the proclamation or not. You know, the government is trying to clarify, or I think pull back from some of what was in the initial proclamation, but they're not doing it consistently, and it not, as an immigration attorney, not using the clearest terms in that guidance.
Which is certainly creating confusion. I was communicating with the school district specifically about these international teachers, and there were questions about whether people who are currently here will be able to renew. So maybe they can finish out the visa, but will they be able to renew? And the school district said, as of right now, based on its current understanding, yes, they will be able to renew. Do you think that this is going to be challenged in court?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know there are several attorneys across the country that are looking for plaintiffs, that already have plaintiffs. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce indicated that they may be filing some litigation related to the proclamation and the new fee. So I absolutely expect we will see litigation filed this month. I think the big question will be, what are the specific issues that are being challenged? Is it cap exempt employment? Is it the amount of the fee? Is it the lack of clarity around the fee? So I think there's a lot to challenge. We'll see who challenges what. The other big unknown is how long will it take this litigation to work its way through the court system to be at a place where it impacts or doesn't impact the next lottery, which opens in March of 2026.
And the lottery process, of course, is the traditional way in which these are awarded, correct? And it's extremely competitive.
Correct. Correct. If you are someone that's here as an international student and graduating, for example, or if you're someone that is abroad right now but has a U.S. job offer, this H-1B lottery is the way you get your H-1B visa, unless you happen to work for a cap exempt employer. So the lottery is very important to many companies and many individuals. It was already competitive, as you note. We have seen demand for these numbers far exceed what's available, to the tune of hundreds of thousands of people not getting selected each year in the H-1B lottery. So I think one definite impact I expect from this proclamation is far fewer lottery registrations. I think the uncertainty is going to cause employers to back away if they can from the H-1B program. So less interest in putting those lotteries in. But, I've been wrong about these things before, but I would expect far fewer lottery submissions in March.
So many industries use these in Wisconsin, far and away from school districts. But any other things that you think are important for people to know as we continue to get more news about this?
I would urge employers to take a breath and pause for the next couple months. I don't think now is the time to make any final decisions on what your H-1B staffing might look like next year. I do think the courts are going to clarify much of this, and it's very possible that it's not nearly as bad as we think it might be right now. So I would urge employers to just not get too anxious about it right now and let things play out for a bit longer. The other thing I think is interesting or of note is, in addition to the proclamation's travel entry ban and that $100,000 fee, they noted there would be new H-1B regulations, and there have been. There were new H-1B regulations proposed that essentially weigh your lottery chances based on your salary. So if you are going to offer an H-1B candidate a top level wage, they're going to get more chances at getting that lottery spot than someone who's coming in at an entry level with an entry level wage. And that, I think, really does shift decisions regarding H-1B sponsorship. It makes, for example, entry level H-1B workers, it's going to be much harder for them to get a spot. And that regulation, unlike this $100,000 fee, I think the H-1B regulation weighing that salary against the lottery, I think that has a very good chance of surviving. So that is something that we as immigration attorneys will be tackling next year, and I'm sure employers also.
Never a dull moment in your field.
Never.
Right?
Interesting times for sure. I'm at the point I do a lot of speaking on this topic, as you might imagine, and as of now, I do not even prepare my talking points until 24 hours before any presentation because it's subject to change.
Kelly Fortier is an immigration lawyer at the Milwaukee law firm of Michael Best. She spoke with WUWM education reporter Katherine Kokal. You can find more of our immigration coverage at WUWM.com.
You can find more interviews like this one by visiting WUWM.com/Lake Effect. And while you're there, subscribe to the Lake Effect Spotlight podcast.
Sources and methods, the crown jewels of the intelligence community. Shorthand for how do we know what's real? Who told us? If you have those answers, you're on the inside, and NPR wants to bring you there. From the Pentagon to the State Department to spy agencies, listen to understand what's really happening and what it means for you. Sources and Methods, the new national security podcast from NPR.